Cyclone Taukte weakens after making landfall at Gujarat coast, moves north-northeastwards from Saurashtra. Heavy rains strike many places. NDRF, Navy, Air Force and Coast Guard carry out relief operations. Around 2 lakh people evacuated to safer places in Gujarat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold interaction with field officials from states and districts about their experience in handling the pandemic. To evaluate the situation in rural and peri-urban areas through corona prevention dialogue, representatives from Karnataka, Bihar, Assam, Chandigarh, Tamil Nadu, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Himachal Pradesh and Delhi to participate. Efforts continue to facilitate oxygen supply and medicines across the country. Railway supplies 10,000 metric tons of oxygen through 600 tankers. Plasma therapy removed from treatment protocol. Portals of holy site Sri Badrinath opened today amidst religious rituals. Mahabhishek Puja performed on behalf of Prime Minister Narendra Modi for welfare and well-being of people. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Tirth Singh Rawat wishes good luck to people on this occasion and affirms that health is priority of the government. Israel-Palestine conflict continues. US attempts to broker peace between the warring sides. US President Joe Biden talks to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on phone. Backs ceasefire at the border. Well, those are the top stories. Let's get to the news in detail now. The extremely severe cyclonic storm Taukte weakened into a very severe cyclonic storm after making a landfall at Gujarat coast. Cyclone Taukte moved north-northeastwards with a speed of 9 km per hour during the past 6 hours. The very severe cyclonic storm Taukte lay centered at 6:30 a.m. on 18th of May, that is today, over Saurashtra, near the latitude 21.50 degrees north and longitude 71.20 degrees east, about 95 kilometers north-northeast of Diu and 10 kilometers south of Amreli, Gujarat. It may weaken gradually into a severe cyclonic storm by today. In Gujarat, several trees were uprooted, electricity poles fell and tin sheets, glass panels were damaged, especially in the coastal districts. People have still been asked by the district administration to not venture out of their homes. Besides that, regular updates are being shared on district administration's Twitter handle about the situation. Heavy to very heavy rains with winds seen throughout the night at many places. Districts in Saurashtra still are witnessing string winds. Wet spells across several districts was also witnessed in Gujarat. Ambulances having tough time to reach out to some calls because several fallen trees have blocked the roads. Response teams are at work to clear the roads. The IMD has forecast in Gujarat light to moderate rainfall at most places, with heavy to very heavy falls at a few places and extremely heavy falls at isolated places over Gujarat region, and heavy to very heavy falls and extremely heavy falls at isolated places over Saurashtra today. In Delhi NCR, IMD predicts light to moderate intensity rain over isolated places of Hathras, Firozabad, Badaयूं, Aligarh, Narora, Mathura, Barsana, Khurja, Tundla, Agra, Etah, Mainpuri, and that was in Uttar Pradesh. Also, IMD has forecast rains at few places and also rains in few places in Haryana, Rajasthan and adjoining areas during the next 2 hours. NDRF, Navy, Air Force and Coast Guard and also the state agencies are carrying out relief operations. National Disaster Response Force personnel carried out rescue operations at Dashisar in Mumbai, where several trees were uprooted, blocking roads in the city after Cyclone Taukte struck the city. In Maharashtra, Met Department has said that heavy to very heavy rainfall is continuing over North Konkan, including Mumbai. Rains will continue for few more hours. In Rajasthan, IMD predicts light to moderate rainfall at many places, heavy to very heavy falls and extremely heavy falls at isolated places, likely over South Rajasthan today and tomorrow. The road between Somnath and Diu has been blocked after damages were caused by Cyclone Taukte. Army personnel swept into action to clear the stretch and made movement normal for vehicles. Get us more, joining us are Meghna Dev from Ahmedabad and Tapas in Delhi. Tapas, coming to you. To begin with, we are expecting light to moderate rains in Delhi. Let us know more on how has the morning begun.
As far as the cyclone is concerned, the impact is in fact felt, it will be felt even in Delhi. It is expected that by end of the day, by night, there will be isolated rainfall activity in the national capital, and it will peak up during tomorrow and moderate to extreme, moderate to heavy rainfall activity can be seen even in the national capital tomorrow. So the IMD is predicting that the impact that is currently right now the cyclone, which is currently in Gujarat and will be moving towards Rajasthan. By tonight, it will have the repercussion, the ripple effect that the cyclone will have will also be felt in the national capital. Now, having said that, currently what we can tell you is that in the next 2 hours, this particular cyclone, which is currently under the category of very severe category, will come down and will become a severe cyclonic storm. And it is expected that by evening and late night, it will come down to its characterization will come down to cyclonic storm, and it will gradually turn into a depression by another 24 hours. And it is expected that the trail of destruction that has left in the Gujarat, especially in the Saurashtra district, it will continue for the next 2 hours. The wind speed will be there almost 100 kilometer or 110 kilometer per hour, but it will gradually weaken over the course of the day. And once we've been told that it will reach almost 50 to 60 kilometer per hour by tonight, by evening. So, a lot of effort relief for the people of Gujarat who have been battling this particular cyclone since almost afternoon from yesterday onwards.
All right, from here I'll go across to Meghna. Meghna, we tell our viewers that the cyclonic storm has weakened into a severe cyclonic storm. Let us know, the current situation there. We tell our viewers that heavy rains lashed the Gujarat coast yesterday. Tell us how has the day begun there today?
Yes, Preeti, not only on the coastline, but also in the areas around central Gujarat. Also, at these places, also there, heavy rains have lashed, different districts, and also not only that, but there is also a storm. There's strong winds are blowing, and somewhere in isolated places also there is rainfall. Heavy to very heavy rainfall can be witnessed. I'm also in Ahmedabad, and as I can show you, the cloudy sky as well as strong winds are blowing, and besides that, at several places along the coastline, as we know, Gujarat has about a 1600 kilometer of coastline, and around that place, around the coastline as well, there are several districts wherein trees have been uprooted, wherein there are electricity poles that have fallen. Even in the rescue shelters, also, there are places, there are more rescue shelters also being trying to be built up so that more people can be accommodated, because also COVID protocols have to be followed. And yesterday, as the Chief Minister also reiterated, that zero casualty approach has to be followed, and we are, the administration is following zero casualty approach. So all of that is being taken care of. Besides that, the NDRF, SDRF, the Home Guard, the rapid response teams are on their toes. And in fact, from last night onwards, from around 2 a.m. onwards, there were several NDRF team on the ground also trying to, take care of the situation. Even I spoke to the ambulance representatives. They have told that about 307 calls have been made, be it, people who fell unconscious, their pregnancy-related medical emergencies, as well as some people who have got hurt. So all these things, about 300 calls have been made, especially only from the districts along the coastline. Besides that, when we talk about, the different measures that the district administration is taking, all the district control rooms, all the higher officials are present there. Also, from the past few days, numbers have been floating in so that the people can call on their respective control rooms, district control rooms, whenever required. So, and currently, no casualty has been reported as of yet, but still the impact assessment and damage assessment, as well as if there is any casualty or not, that assessment will also take time, because since morning, there's been heavy rains as well as, strong wind, and people, especially, all the higher officials of the districts and obviously of the state government as well, are requesting people not to venture out of their homes till 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. in the evening today.
All right, Meghna, also we've given a sense of the the damages which have been caused by Cyclone Taukte. Spell out more details on that as well, and also we tell our viewers around 2 lakh people have been brought to safer places in Gujarat. Let us know more efforts which have been put in by the state administration to ensure the damages or the effect of the cyclone is mitigated or is is minimized.
Yes, absolutely. About 2 lakh people had been relocated to safer places, especially from the places which are in the low-lying areas. And also there are people which had been relocated, not only who were, fine and tested COVID negative, but also the people who were COVID positive. Those people had also been relocated to safer places, and the people who were severe, who that had already been shifted to, different hospitals. Not only that, the COVID hospitals are also had kept 2 days of buffer oxygen. Besides that, there has been no power cut reported from any COVID hospital as of now. And, power backup, the DG sets have already been kept there so that there is no power cut or any issue regarding power, nearby or at any COVID hospital, though there have been some districts where electricity had been snapped as a preventive measure. So and oxygen corridors have been made. About 174 ICU on wheels are there along the coastline, especially, and the places which were expected to be highly impacted. So definitely the administration seems to be on its toes, and all the work, the rescue work especially has started. We have seen tin sheets were flowing, trees have uprooted, electricity poles have fallen. Quite a lot of damage has happened because of the strength of the winds, because of the strong winds that have been flowing. So since morning, the road blockades have been trying to remove, the trees are being removed from the road so that the blockade cannot be there. Also, ambulances are having a hard time to reach to the people in distress because the roads are blocked and the trees have fallen on the roads. So, but still the work is currently on. The response teams are on the road and on work. And also, not only that, the Navy, Army, Air Force is already there on standby, to help at any hour of need. So all of that is being kept into place. The preparations in Gujarat have been going on past 1 week. So, and especially the control rooms, hotlines, to satellite phones, all modes of communication are on. There has been no communication snap between the state control room and the district control room as well. So currently everything seems to be under control, except that currently the restoration work or continuing with the transportation work is going on, so that the blockades can be removed and ambulances can move through and transportation can move through.
All right, Tapas, when we talked to you, you said that now from very severe, earlier it was severe cyclone, extremely severe cyclonic storm. Yes, and then it turned to very severe, and now we tell our viewers that it will weaken to a severe cyclonic storm. Let us know, when do we expect it to to get over, and also when we talk of severe cyclonic storm, what is the fallout of a severe cyclonic storm? Let us know the severity as well.
Right. So before I get back to you on that particular thing, Preeti, just let me tell you that there are not just a human lives, but also the lives of the Asiatic lands that have to be saved. Remember, in fact, Gujarat is the home of Asiatic lands, and out of the 674 lines that are there, it's almost half of it falls into the coastal area. So the administration is working on that. Remember, the last time such an ferocity of cyclone took place was way back in 1998. where almost 4,000 people lost their lives. But because of the proactive role that the administration played, this time they have managed to somehow control the fatalities as well as the destruction of the properties. Now, coming back to your question about the intensity, as of now, the intensity of wind speed of a very severe cyclonic storm, which earlier yesterday it was extreme severe, but that has been shifted to very severe category. The cyclonic storm's wind speed is somewhere in the region of 115 to gusting to almost 140, which is quite a high speed that we're talking about. But in the next couple of hours, as per the IMD's report, it will come down to severe cyclonic storms category, where the wind speed is expected to reach almost 90 to 100, gusting to almost 110. That is the wind speed that we are talking about, along with the ferocity of the rainfall activity over the Saurashtra region, as well as even in Ahmedabad, where Meghna is currently giving live. So one expects that interior of Gujarat will also experience heightened rainfall activity along with the wind speed. Now we are expecting that by the noontime and post that, the wind activity to reduce to almost 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, as the categorization of the storm will come to almost cyclonic storm, and post that it will come down to as a deep depression. And during the cyclonic storm, even though the speed is less, but there is a rainfall activity that is expected to be there, and many states, many of the space, especially Porbandar, Jamnagar, Bhavnagar, and South Ahmedabad, and other places like Daman, Nagar Haveli, and other places are expected to have not just rainfall activity but a heightened gale speed wind. So one has to be, the administration has already sounded alert. IMD has already given warning to places, and administration is leaving no concern to make sure that the indoor and don't venture out in the open. Where the idea is to stay indoors so that when this kind of heavy wind takes place, it doesn't have a fatality. It doesn't account for the fatalities that we have seen in 1998, where there was a high fatality that came at that particular time. Pretty.
All right, Tapas, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you, Meghna, for joining us with those inputs. That was our correspondent Tapas telling us what to expect through the day when we talk of Cyclone Taukte weakening into a severe cyclonic storm. Also, Meghna was telling us about the current situation in Gujarat as a whole. We'll keep you updated. Also, Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani has said that work to rescue people from cyclone affected areas has been done successfully.
जितने तटीय डिस्ट्रिक्ट है उसमें से सभी लोग नीचे जो रहते थे और कच्चे मकान में रहते थे उन सभी को स्थलांतर किया है। सेफ हमने शेल्टर हाउस में सबको लेकर अभी रख दिया है। 2 लाख से ज़्यादा लोगों को रखा है, तो अभी नीचे कोई नहीं है। लेकिन ये जो साइक्लोन पूरा पसार होने जाने के बाद लोग बाहर निकले, और जो बाकी जो नुकसान होगा उसमें सरकार तुरंत ही रिस्टोर करने के लिए तुरंत कार्यवाही करेगी। अभी तो हमारा पूरा लक्ष्य जानहानि न हो उस पर ही लगातार हम लोग हैं।
A total of 146 people were rescued from Indian Navy's barge P305 vessel till 6 a.m. today as the search and rescue operations continued throughout the night. Around 111 people were rescued by INS Kochi and INS Kolkata, and 17 were rescued by offshore support vessel Great Ship Ahilya. 18 people were rescued by OSV Ocean Energy while operating in extremely challenging sea conditions. The search and rescue operations by the Navy are currently underway amid Cyclone Taukte. The barge Gal constructor with 137 persons on board has run around about 48 nm north of Kolaba Point. Apart from that, an emergency towing vessel, Water Lily, 2 support vessels and CGS Samrat are in vicinity for rendering assistance and evacuation of crew. INS Talwar is proceeding to render assistance to another oil rig, Sagar Bhushan, with 101 personnel on board. and an accommodation barge SS3 with 196 personnel on board, both of which are adrift and presently located about 50 nm southeast of Pipavav port. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be interacting with field officials from states and districts to converse about their experience in handling the pandemic today. Many of these districts have seen a huge surge in cases and widespread infection. Officials from Karnataka, Bihar, Assam, Chandigarh, Tamil Nadu, Uttarakhand, Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Himachal Pradesh and Delhi will take part in the meeting. Also, the battle against COVID-19 across various states and districts is being led at the cutting edge by field-level officials. Many of them have shown great initiative and have come out with imaginative solutions. A better appreciation of such initiatives will help towards developing effective response plan, targeted strategy implementation and support necessary policy interventions. Many effective measures have been taken, from ensuring strict containment measures are undertaken to controlling the spread, to preparing the healthcare facilities for handling the raging second wave, to ensuring availability of healthcare workforce and also a seamless supply chain for logistics. These districts, in their relentless efforts to manage the situation, have also success stories that could be replicated across the country. The officials will share some best practices in addition to suggestions and recommendations for continuing the ongoing battle against COVID-19, especially in the semi-urban and rural areas. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday interacted with a group of doctors from across the country via video conferencing to discuss the COVID-related situation. Prime Minister thanked the entire medical fraternity and paramedical staff for the exemplary fight displayed by them against the extraordinary circumstances of the second wave of COVID, adding that the entire country is indebted to them. Prime Minister underlined that the strategy of starting vaccination program with frontline warriors has paid rich dividends in the second wave. About 90% of the health professionals in the country have already taken the first dose. Vaccines have ensured safety of most of the doctors. During the interaction, the doctors thanked Prime Minister for guidance and leadership during the recent surge of cases. Doctors thanked Prime Minister for prioritizing healthcare workers for vaccination. They informed Prime Minister about their preparedness since the first wave of COVID and also the challenges they faced in the second wave. The doctors shared their experiences, best practices and the innovative efforts. They also informed that in the fight against COVID, every effort is also being made to take proper care of non-COVID patients. They also shared their experiences of increasing awareness among the public, including about sensitizing patients against improper use of medicines. The Central Health Team visited Jammu on Monday to assess the COVID situation. The team of doctors deputed by Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare called for conducting genome study in Jammu while observing that the high mortality rate in Jammu may be because of the double mutant Indian strain. Addressing a press conference in Jammu after visiting several COVID care facilities in Jammu and Samba districts, the team advised for intensifying testing in the areas witnessing huge surge in the cases. The team of doctors said that there is a need to increase testing in such areas and the samples, as per the protocol, be sent to Delhi for genome study, assuring that the results would be shared with the Union Territory within a week's time. Meanwhile, the states also continue to fight the global pandemic with all their resources at their disposal. The positivity rates are coming down in Uttar Pradesh and Delhi, while many states have announced extension of the restrictions to curb the chain of transmission.
The war against COVID continues. Efforts are being made to break the chain of transmission with strict lockdown or partial lockdown and curfew in states all across the country. In Uttar Pradesh, there has been a decrease in the number of new COVID infections. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath held a meeting with the state's Team 9 set up to tackle the coronavirus through video conference in the morning. He gave officials necessary instructions. There has been a steady decline in the positivity rate in the state, with cumulative active cases also declining.
बट कह रहे थे 1 लाख प्रतिदिन के मामले वो घट के वो केवल आज जो है 9,391 मामले आए थे। इस प्रकार ये जो पूरी रणनीति कोरोना की है उसमें माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी के निर्देशन और मार्गदर्शन में तेजी से कार्रवाई हो रही है।
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has been continuously monitoring the situation in the state. The Chief Minister was on a tour of Western UP on Monday. He inspected the COVID-19 command center at Saharanpur district office and held a meeting with representatives and officials from the district. He also visited Rampur in Muzaffarnagar and spoke to the monitoring committee, interacting with village leaders and families of those suffering from COVID. Yogi Adityanath visited the COVID Command and Control Center in Muzaffarnagar. The Chief Minister also reviewed the coronavirus situation with officials. He said that the recovery rate in Uttar Pradesh is currently 90%. The Uttar Pradesh government is focusing on COVID management in rural areas. Doctors associated with BHU in Varanasi are providing their services for health checkup in rural areas.
शहर में ऑक्सीमीटर लोग जानते हैं, लेकिन गांव में नहीं जानते. उनको लग रहा है कि इससे बीमारी हो जाएगी. तो हम लोग को इस पर भी ध्यान देना होगा, जागरूकता फैलानी होगी और इस पर कार्य करना होगा.
The COVID situation in Madhya Pradesh is also being brought under complete control. The state government says that the infection rate has reduced to 9.10% in the state. The recovery rate is now 87.5%.
राज्य शासन ने फैसला किया है 2 योजनाएं बनाने का. एक, मुख्यमंत्री कोविड-19 अनुकंपा नियुक्ति योजना. इन सबको के परिवारों को, परिवार में आश्रितों को जो परिवार तय करे, अनुकंपा नियुक्ति उसी पद पर दी जाएगी.
The situation is improving due to restrictions in place in Rajasthan. About 100 patients with black fungus have been admitted in a private hospital.
हमारे एक प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल में 100 के करीब मरीज वहाँ भर्ती हैं. एसएमएस में भी हमने एक यूनिट इस बीमारी के ट्रीटमेंट के लिए खोली है.
The lockdown in Delhi has been extended till 5 a.m. on 24th May. In most areas, people are following all the protocols. In the last 24 hours, Delhi saw 4,524 new cases with a positivity rate a little more than 8%.
तो दिल्ली में कोरोना के केसेस तो कम हो रहे हैं. जैसे जैसे दूसरा वेव अब नीचे आ रहा है, दिल्ली में कोरोना के केसेस भी कम हो रहे हैं, डेथ्स भी कम हो रही हैं. साथ साथ हॉस्पिटल्स के ऊपर भी प्रेशर कम हुआ है. दूसरी तरफ दिल्ली सरकार बहुत तेज़ी से और बहुत सफलता से वैक्सीनेशन का प्रोग्राम चला रही है. जितनी भी वैक्सीन उपलब्ध हो पा रही है, सारी की सारी वैक्सीन बहुत तेज़ी से हमारी कोशिश है कि लोगों को लगा दी जाए ताकि हर व्यक्ति को सुरक्षित किया जा सके.
In Jammu and Kashmir too, steps are being taken to prevent a rise in COVID infections. The administration is providing COVID management kits at homes free of cost to COVID patients who are in home isolation.
जो भी कोविड पॉजिटिव पेशेंट्स हैं, उनको हम घर घर जाकर उनको हम मेडिकल किट्स दे रहे हैं. जैसा कि आपने अभी देखा, उस किट्स में ऑक्सीमीटर हैं, हेल्थ सप्लीमेंट्स हैं, एंटीबायोटिक्स हैं और जो भी एक प्रिस्क्रिप्शन रहती है, प्रेस्क्राइब डॉक्टर्स की प्रिस्क्रिप्शन, वो हम उनको डोर स्टेप पे दे रहे हैं.
Meanwhile, the COVID curfew imposed in Andhra Pradesh has been extended till the end of this month. Triple lockdown is in force in 4 Kerala districts which have a high positivity rate: Thiruvananthapuram, Ernakulam, Trichur and Mallapuram. Lockdown is also in place in Tamil Nadu. Actor Rajnikant handed over a cheque of 50 lakh rupees to Chief Minister M.K. Stalin for the COVID relief fund. Karnataka too is under a lockdown to prevent the rising numbers of COVID.
Bangalore is the only city in the state which we are seeing some downward trend, which we are happy, and because there is a lockdown here, so there are many reasons why it has gone down.
Vaccinations are being administered in right earnest across the country. The administration has launched a new scheme for vaccination in Gautam Budh Nagar in Uttar Pradesh. After due registration, people with disabilities, the elderly and those who are not able to walk are being vaccinated in their cars.
सब लोग अपनी गाड़ी में बैठ के आएंगे और गाड़ी में बैठे बैठे ही अपना रजिस्ट्रेशन कराएंगे. रजिस्ट्रेशन कराने के बाद यहाँ पे वैक्सीनेशन कराएंगे. आजकल इशू ये रहता है, जब लोग हॉस्पिटल जाते हैं वैक्सीनेशन कराने के लिए, भीड़ भड़के से उनको लगता है कि हो सकता है हमें इन्फेक्शन हो जाए. यहाँ पे लोगों को क्या है कि उनको सहूलियत है, वो अपनी गाड़ी के अंदर बैठे बैठे वैक्सीनेशन कराते हैं.
Several organizations across states have been helping people affected by COVID. United 6 created a 50-bed COVID care center with oxygen facility at the sports complex in Chandigarh. People across the board are coming forward in keeping with COVID protocols to aid the government's efforts in mitigating the impact of the second wave of the virus. Bureau Report, DD India.
The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country stands at 18 crore 44 lakh 53,149. 14 crore 24 lakh 28,227 beneficiaries have received their first dose of the vaccine, and 4 crore 20 lakh 24,922 have received their second dose of COVID vaccine. As on day 122, that was yesterday, of the vaccination drive, a total of 15 lakh 10,418 vaccine doses were given. 12 lakh 67,201 beneficiaries were vaccinated for the first dose, and 2 lakh 43,217 beneficiaries received their second dose of the vaccine in the last 24 hours. India continues to put up a strong fight against COVID-19. The country continues its mass-scale COVID-19 testing drive. As per the Indian Council of Medical Research, 18,69,223 samples were tested on May 17th, taking the cumulative total to 31 crore 82 lakh 92,881. Up next, we'll take a look at the latest COVID-19 cases in the country. And according to the Minister of Health and Family Welfare, COVID recoveries have outnumbered the daily new COVID cases yet again. More than 4,22,000 recoveries have been registered in the last 24 hours, while the active cases declined by 1,63,232. Recovery rate stood at 85.6%. Total recoveries stood at 2 crore 15 lakh 96,512. The fatality rate stands at 1.1%. AIMS, ICMR, COVID-19 National Task Force, Joint Monitoring Group, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare has on Monday removed plasma therapy from treatment protocol. The therapy is widely used in hospitals for treating serious COVID patients. In the revised clinical guidelines for management of adult COVID cases, use of plasma therapy has been removed even as an off-label treatment. Padma Shri awardee and former National President of Indian Medical Association, Dr. K.K. Agrawal, passed away on Monday after a long battle with COVID in New Delhi. 62-year-old Dr. K.K. Agrawal was admitted to AIMS for past several days and was on ventilator support since last week. Dr. Agrawal was a cardiologist and head of the Healthcare Foundation of India. He received Dr. B.C. Roy Award in 2005 and Padma Shri in 2010. The International Invincible Gold Medal of this year has been conferred upon Union Education Minister Dr. Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank. The honour was announced at a two-day virtual session which was attended by representatives from over 110 countries. The award will be formally presented to the Union Minister on Guru Purnima this year. Portals of Sri Badrinath Shrine opened today at 4:15 a.m. following a religious ceremony with Vedic chants and scriptural law. During the summer, there will be continuous worship of Lord Badavishal. On behalf of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Maha Abhishek Puja was performed in Badrinath Dham. Uttarakhand Chief Minister Tirth Singh Rawat has greeted devotees of the country and also abroad on the occasion. Devotees could not attend the opening ceremony, but arrangements were made for them to have online darshan. Precautions have been taken in view of the COVID pandemic surge. Due to the suspension of the Char Dham Yatra, devotees will be able to virtually visit all the four dhams, including Badrinath and Kedarnath. Let's get you international updates in our segment Across the Globe. And when we talk of the international updates, to begin with, we will first talk about the updates. First, let's get you the global COVID update. When we talk of the figures coming in from across the world, the virus has infected more than 16 crore 37 lakh people, while the number of recoveries stands above 14 crore 21 lakh. Also, over 33 lakh 93,000 fatalities due to COVID-19 have been reported worldwide. The United States continues to remain the worst affected country with COVID-19 infection and is reporting over 3 crore 37 lakh cases. Also, the US reported death toll crossing 6 lakh. US President Joe Biden announced that he will send at least 20 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to other countries by end of June, marking for the first time the United States sharing vaccines authorized for domestic use. He said that he will send doses of Pfizer, BioNTech, Moderna Inc. and Johnson & Johnson's vaccines on top of 60 million AstraZeneca doses that he had already planned to give to other countries. Biden noted that no other country will send more vaccines abroad than the United States. The United States has administered more than 272 million COVID-19 vaccine doses and has distributed more than 340 million. With nearly 60% of the US adults having got at least one shot, it is well ahead of many nations like Brazil and India, which are desperate for more doses and struggling to control COVID-19 outbreaks. The World Health Organization DG has said that the world has reached a situation of vaccine apathy. Addressing a virtual Paris Peace Forum event, the WHO chief called on COVID-19 vaccine manufacturers to make shots available to the COVAX vaccine sharing facility.
I think I would go one step further and say not just that the world is at risk of vaccine apartheid, the world is in vaccine apartheid. As you know, high-income countries account for 15% of the world's population, but have 45% of the world's vaccines. And low and lower middle-income countries account for almost half of the world's population, but have received just 17% of the world's vaccines. So the gap is really huge.
West End theatres began reopening on Monday in a further loosening of lockdown of the restrictions in England. After standing empty for months, indoor entertainment venues can now welcome back live audiences, though at 50% capacity to allow social distancing and with safety measures in place. Describing itself as the world's longest running play, Murder Mystery, The Mousetrap is in its 69th year and on Monday evening was showing its 28,200th performance. Like elsewhere around the world, lockdown forced theatres to pull down their curtains in March 2020. A few briefly reopened during a temporary easing of lockdown late last year. About a third of London theatres will reopen this week, namely smaller productions with lesser costs. Major musicals, which cannot afford to run at 50% capacity, are awaiting the final phase of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's roadmap out of the lockdown scheduled for June 21st in order to reopen from the summer. In New York, Broadway shows will return from mid-September. Shelling continued unabated between Israel and Palestine as Israel conducted airstrikes on Gaza and Palestine retaliated by firing rockets at Israeli cities, resulting in civilian deaths. Israel's attacked the densely populated Palestinian enclave, killed a top Islamic Jihad Northern Division commander in Gaza, Hussam Abu Harbit, calling him the man behind the rocket launches, shootings and anti-tank missile attacks on Israel. Israeli attacks on Palestine left a crater in a 7-story office building that Israel's military said was used by Gaza's Islamist rulers. Hamas IDF fighter jets struck the main operations center of the Hamas internal security forces in northern Gaza. The operations center was a central part of Hamas terror infrastructure, Israeli forces said. On the other hand, rocket barrages sent Israeli dashing for bomb shelters with direct hits on a synagogue in Ashkelon and an apartment building in Ashdod. The cross-border hostilities were accompanied by violence in West Bank and riots in Israeli cities involving Arabs and Jews. With this, the death toll in Palestine has risen to 212, including 61 children and 36 women. 10 people, including 2 children, have lost their lives in Israel. Amidst this, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israel will continue to strike Gaza as long as necessary. The Israeli Prime Minister said that the country will do its most to avoid civilian casualties. Netanyahu has said that the directive is to continue strikes at terror targets. He also said that Israel Defense Forces have hit a Hamas naval unit apart from killing another senior Islamic Jihad commander. Israeli Prime Minister said that Israel will continue to strike at underground infrastructure, including the Hamas metro and other targets. Israel will continue to act as necessary to restore peace and security to all residents of the country, he said. Meanwhile, United States President Joe Biden spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday over the ongoing war-like situation between Israel and Palestine and expressed his support for a ceasefire. According to the statement issued by White House, Biden reiterated his firm support for Israel's right to defend itself against indiscriminate rocket attacks. Biden also encouraged Israel to make every effort to ensure protection of innocent civilians, the White House said. As per the statement released by White House, the two leaders discussed progress in Israel's military operations against Hamas and other terrorist groups in Gaza. Biden also expressed his support for a ceasefire and discussed U.S. engagement with Egypt and other partners towards that end. The two leaders agreed that they and their teams would remain in close touch, the White House said. In a direct reference to United States and Austria, Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan on Monday criticized Western powers for their lack of response to violence between Israel and Palestinians. Speaking at a cabinet meeting, Erdogan called for solid action against Israel. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine has also invited reaction from France. French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday said that in the coming days he would work with Egypt's president and Jordan's king on a concrete proposal for a ceasefire and a possible path to discussions between Israel and Palestine. Speaking at a news conference, Macron also said that he would bring up the bombing by Israeli warplanes of a building that housed media outlets in Gaza when he speaks to Israel's Prime Minister. The United States, the United Kingdom and Canada have imposed new sanctions targeting Myanmar's junta. We'll get to more on that, but before that, let's turn focus again to the conflict between Israel and Palestine. And to get us more on that, Abhishek Jha is joining us. Abhishek, good morning to you. We see that with each passing day, the conflict is intensifying. You let us know more. Where is the conflict heading to? With tensions still simmering and both the sides vowing to revenge each other?
So actually, Preeti, it doesn't look inside that there's going to be some soon or short, peace building mechanism there in Israel and between Israel and Palestine, because both sides are trying to outnumber each other in terms of number of attacks and number of attempts to inflict, casualties also, because we have seen thousands of barrage of rockets being fired from Hamas holdouts in Gaza and other places towards Israel. But because of the advanced technology and its Iron Dome structure, most of these rockets are being engaged and struck down in skies only. So the casualty figure is, of course, very limited on the side of Israel. But the attempt to inflict more and more damage towards Israel is as intense from Hamas side as it is from the Israeli side, because Israel is also targeting a number of residential buildings where it is claiming that Hamas leader and military commanders are holed up, and they are trying to destroy all those commanders and their holdout places. So the crisis continues to simmer, and there is no sight of resolution. In the meantime, world bodies, various countries are trying to brokerage a peace deal between the two countries, so that until a long-term solution between the two states of Israel and Palestine could be found out, there should at least be no tension or no war-like situation, and the number of human casualties and the humanitarian crisis could be brought down significantly.
Also, Abhishek, give us a roundup of the international response that has been coming in from all corners. US President Joe Biden has backed a ceasefire, and he also held a telephonic call with Benjamin Netanyahu. And also we've seen response coming in from other countries as well. Very quickly put all this together for us.
So Preeti, it was expected that United States, having been a very close friend and ally of Israel, would be able to pressure or influence some of its past friendship on Israel to bring down the tension or bring down the number of attacks on the Gaza facility or the residential complexes. But that doesn't seem to have been working. Otherwise, many more nations, including United Nations, its United Nations Secretary General, in fact, India, it has also tried to convey its point of view that the tension should be brought down first, so that it can facilitate a negotiating mechanism, because the war is something that cannot bring out a resolution or any solution between the conflict and the long history that both the nations have in terms of continuous struggle, and they have to come to a negotiating table if they have to ever achieve a peace or a continuous sustainable peace model.
All right, Abhishek. So it's a wait and watch, approach that has to be adopted. Let's see how the days ahead pan out. Thank you so much for joining us with those inputs. So that was our correspondent Abhishek Jha joining us and telling us more about the situation in Israel and Palestine, even as the tensions are simmering between both the parties. Let's talk of other news now. The United States, the United Kingdom and Canada have imposed new sanctions targeting Myanmar's junta, increasing pressure on the military in the latest of the series of punitive actions since it took power in a February 1 coup. The United States targeted the governing State Administrators Council and also 13 officials. The move freezing any U.S. assets of those listed and generally bars Americans from dealing with them. Canada imposed additional sanctions on individuals and entities tied to Myanmar armed forces, while Britain announced sanctions against state-owned enterprise Myanmar Gems Enterprise, which was included in the previous U.S. sanctions. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has said that his country is ready for war with Taliban with the withdrawal of U.S. troops underway. Ghani also said that the issue of power may have to be decided on field of battle if Taliban gains power and imposes a dictatorial regime. Up next, we get to our segment, Web News Review. All right, to get us a web news review this morning, Anil is joining us. Anil, good morning. Let us know what all headlines have you picked up for us this morning through, from the social media platforms.
Well, good morning, Preeti, and good morning, India. Well, lots to look forward to. I've culled out 7 stories. I'll just, briefly run through them. The first one is about NCR capital region expected to get rains over the next 3 days due to Cyclone Taukte. And, we are talking about, rains affecting almost all parts of NCR along with Haryana and Rajasthan, also Western Uttar Pradesh getting a bit of rain. But over the next 3 days, you can expect, the fallout of that particular cyclone, they're clearly coming onto Delhi and NCR region. So we are not going to miss the action, and we're going to get a bit of rain over the next 2 days, especially Wednesday, where rains are going to be severe. Moving to the next story that I have picked out from the print, it's about India's R value that's dropped below 1% for the first time. It's been constantly rising, but for the first time, the R value has dropped in India. What's the R value? R value indicates how fast COVID-19 is spreading in India, and that's dropped for the first time. The first, first blip that you saw when it dropped below, 1% was on May 11. But yesterday, again on May 17, there has been a constant drop there. 0.98% is what the R value stands at. And that's a big positive when one looks at COVID numbers and when one looks and gets worried looking at, the way the world and also especially, people who are around, who feel that the virus is not under control. So clearly one step forward in the right direction. And why this particular drop has come about purely for the reason that Maharashtra has been able to keep its, COVID-19 cases under check, as a result of which this particular cases have come down. When you purely look in terms of big cities on how they have progressed, all four cities, that's Delhi, Pune, Mumbai, Bangalore, along with Kolkata, have come down when it comes to number of cases. But it's only Chennai that's purely in terms of cities, Chennai that's got an upswing, as a result of which, this particular case, especially when you look at the cities, Chennai, the only city where cases have gone up in the last week. When I say cases come down, this is on a week-on-week basis when I talk about cities. Going to the third story that I picked about, this is from the New Indian Express. This is down south in Godavari district. That's an interesting story where a village does not have a single case of COVID-19. There are roughly around 1,500 people in this particular district, in this particular area in Krishna district. The name of the village is Dugrilapadu. It's why it has been a grand success in that particular district that there are no COVID cases, because the sanitization work is carried out pretty well. Twice a week it's been carried out. That's not all. Even fogging as well as machines or medicines being dropped there are quite frequent among the villagers. So as a result of which, you don't even see a single case of COVID-19 in this small village that's got roughly around 1,500 people. So that's a big positive when you see the gloom around COVID-19 and all the stories that we end up reading in the newspapers. The fourth story that I picked up is Apollo's and Dr. Reddy's, all set to, begin the COVID-19 vaccinations program with Sputnik. It rolls out today in Visakhapatnam, and it's expected to roll out also. When I say it's rolling out in Visakhapatnam, it's fully rolling out in Apollo hospitals in Visakhapatnam, and it's expected, also in Hyderabad, this particular program will begin from Monday. So clearly, a step in the right direction. The fifth story you've already mentioned about Joe Biden and Joe Biden.
Yeah, all right, Anil, we're running short of time. I'll interrupt you here. Thank you so much for joining us with that web review this morning. All right, up next, we get you all the updates from the sports world in our segment Sports Track. A sigh of relief for cricket lovers as International Cricket Council on Monday dismissed claims made by news channel Al Jazeera that India's test matches against England and Australia were fixed, saying the passages of the play identified as fixed were entirely predictable and therefore implausible as a fix. ICC said that it has not found sufficient credible and reliable evidence regarding the spot fixing claims made by Al Jazeera in 2018 and will not bring any charges under the governing body's anti-corruption code. Despite defeating Serbia's Novak Djokovic in the final of the Italian Open, Spain's Rafael Nadal remains third in the current ATP rankings, while Djokovic remains at number 1. 11,063 rating points, that was his score. Daniil Medvedev of Russia is at second place with 9,793 points and 163 points ahead of Nadal. There was no change in the top 10 of the ATP rankings. For Nadal, winning the Italian Open was important in many ways. Not only did he win the title for the 10th time, but also equal Djokovic winning the Master 1000 title 36 times. Up next, we get you the weather forecast. According to the satellite picture, under the influence of storm Taukte, rainfall at most places is expected over Gujarat region. Heavy to very heavy falls at isolated places over Saurashtra, and also total suspension of fishing operations, and fishermen are advised not to venture into the East Central Arabian Sea, Northeast Arabian Sea, and also along the coast of Gujarat, Daman, Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli coast, and also along and off Maharashtra and Goa coast. Also, the tidal wave is expected over Anand and Amreli, Gir, Somnath, Diu, Bhavnagar, and also remnants of the above system are likely to cause fairly widespread rainfall and thunderstorm and heavy rainfall over the West Himalayan region. Up next, we get you major temperatures across major cities of the country. So that's it in this edition of Breakfast News. But before we go, we go with this reminder every day. Remember, wearing a mask is the best precaution you can have against COVID-19. Wear it properly and correctly and protect yourself and also people around you. And before we go, we also leave you with some beautiful images to make sure that the feel-good factor of the images stays with you all through the day. And today we're leaving you with the Eurovision Song Contest that is all set to amaze people across the world this week. The 65th edition of the event is being hosted by Netherlands in the Dutch port city of Rotterdam. Around 39 countries are participating. And also, before we go, take a look at these beautiful images and the contenders practicing their acts. Bye-bye.